Have you ever stood alone beneath a vast sky, feeling the weight of invisible chains, chains not forged by iron or steel, but by the quiet tyranny of your own mind? What if the loudest cries for freedom are not found in the shouts of revolution, but in the silent rebellion of a soul learning to be free? The 4th of July, the day the world marks the birth of a nation's freedom, holds within it a profound lesson. Not just of breaking from external rule, but of what it truly means to liberate oneself from the prisons of doubt, fear, and limitation. Today, we explore a freedom deeper than any flag, more enduring than any battle, a freedom rooted in the philosophy of inner liberation, the illusion of external freedom. From afar, the 4th of July paints a picture of fireworks and celebration, a spectacle of triumph over tyranny. Yet beneath the spectacle lies a subtle truth. External freedom, while precious, is but a surface ripple on the ocean of liberty. To understand freedom in its truest form, one must first ask, what does it mean to be free? Is it merely to cast off chains laid by another, or is it to cast off the chains forged within? The founders declared independence not only from a distant monarch, but from the tyranny of oppression. But the fight for external freedom was only the beginning. Many who celebrate freedom do so unaware that their minds remain confined by habits, attachments, and fears. These invisible bonds can hold a person captive far more tightly than any prison cell. A society may be free, yet individuals remain enslaved to anxiety, to judgment, to the endless pursuit of approval. True liberty is not found in the waving of a flag or the breaking of shackles. It is found in the quiet revolution of the self. To understand this, one must look inward. But how does one begin to break free from oneself? The first step, awareness of the chains within. The moment of true freedom begins with a simple yet profound awakening, the awareness that one is not free. This recognition may come as a whisper, a moment of stillness in the chaos, when the soul looks honestly at its own shadows. Fear of failure, the craving for certainty, the habit of blame, these are chains that often go unnoticed. They hide beneath the surface like roots of a tree, anchoring us firmly in limitation. In the story of July 4th, the colonies declared themselves free from British rule, but to do so, they first had to recognize their own subjugation. Similarly, the internal battle requires the courage to see where one is bound. This is no easy task. The mind resists change, preferring the safety of known prisons. Yet this moment of awareness is the spark that ignites the flame of liberation. It reveals the possibility that freedom is not a distant prize, but a state accessible here and now. And once this awareness dawns, the journey transforms from a distant ideal into a daily practice of courage. But what does this practice look like? The practice of inner freedom, mastery over self. To walk the path of inner freedom is to engage in a constant dialogue with oneself, a practice of mastering the self rather than the world. It is the art of choosing which thoughts to entertain, which fears to confront, and which desires to relinquish. The founders understood this implicitly. The revolution was not only a political act but a moral one, requiring discipline, sacrifice, and the willingness to face uncertainty. Similarly, inner liberation demands a steadfast commitment to truth. One must learn to observe the mind without becoming entangled in its stories. When anxiety whispers, the free soul listens but does not obey. When anger rises, it acknowledges without allowing itself to be consumed. This is not suppression, but sovereignty, choosing the self rather than being chosen by impulses. This practice is often misunderstood. It is not an escape from the world, but a deeper engagement with it, seeing it clearly without distortion. However, mastery over self is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. Each day presents new challenges, new fears to face. How then does one sustain this path without losing hope or resolve? The role of purpose and meaning in freedom. Freedom without purpose can feel like an empty sky, vast, yes, but lacking direction. The philosophy of freedom is incomplete without a grounding in meaning. The 4th of July reminds us not only of freedom, but of the cause that gave birth to it. Liberty was pursued not for its own sake, but as a means to build a just society, to create a space where dignity and virtue might flourish. Inner liberation, too, requires a guiding star. Purpose anchors the soul, transforming freedom from mere absence of constraint into the presence of meaningful action. Without meaning, freedom can devolve into chaos, an unmoored ship lost at sea. But with purpose, every act of liberation becomes a step toward a life well lived. This purpose need not be grandiose. It may be as simple as the commitment to live honestly, to love deeply, or to face each day with integrity. These are the true revolutions within. Yet, even purpose can become a burden if clung to rigidly. How then does one balance freedom and purpose without becoming enslaved to either? The balance of freedom between discipline and surrender. True freedom is found in the delicate balance between discipline and surrender. Too much discipline can become tyranny, too much surrender, chaos. The founders wrestled with this balance. The constitution they crafted was a framework of rules designed to protect liberty, yet flexible enough to adapt. Similarly, inner freedom requires structure, not as chains, but as guides. Discipline disciplines not to constrain, but to cultivate. It is the practice of choosing what serves the soul and releasing what harms it. But discipline without softness becomes rigidity. Here, surrender plays its role, not as defeat, but as acceptance. Surrender is the wisdom to acknowledge what cannot be controlled, the humility to let go without losing oneself. It is the dance of freedom, steering one's course while flowing with the currents of life. In this tension lies liberation, the freedom to be both firm and fluid, both resolute and open. Yet this balance is fragile and elusive. How then can one nurture it without falling into extremes? The gift of freedom, responsibility, and connection. Freedom, finally, is not a solitary prize, but a shared responsibility. The 4th of July is a reminder that liberty is both a right and a duty, a trust bestowed and to be guarded. Inner freedom awakens not only self-mastery, but a deeper connection to others, to the world. It recognizes that one's liberty is intertwined with the liberty of all. True freedom requires responsibility, the willingness to act with integrity, to honor the freedom of others as sacred. It is a profound humility that sees freedom not as a weapon to wield, but as a gift to cherish. In this realization, freedom transcends the self and becomes a force for healing and unity. The soul that is truly free carries not only the light of its own liberation, but the flame of collective awakening. And as this flame spreads, it beckons us toward a future where freedom is lived not as an ideal, but as a daily reality. This 4th of July, pause to reflect on the freedom within, the quiet revolution waiting in your heart. It is a freedom born not of loud declarations, but of stillness, courage, and relentless truth. May you find the courage to break your own chains, to choose your own thoughts, and to live with purpose and grace. If this journey toward inner freedom calls to you, consider joining a community of seekers. Subscribe for daily reflections that illuminate the path ahead. Share this message with someone who might need to hear it today, for freedom is not meant to be kept alone. Together, may we awaken to the boundless liberty that lies not in distant lands, but within ourselves.